this is from our good friends over at ScreenRant.com. This article is entitled "The Next Star Trek, The Next Generation, Jonathan Frakes' Dream Plan for Star Trek Legacy." Star Trek icon Jonathan Frakes details his blueprint for Star Trek Legacy, which should be the next generation of Star Trek TNG. There's a lot of next generation in there, and I'm intrigued. John Orchiola, you wrote this article. Would you like to give us the summary?
Sure. So this quote comes from an interview that Jonathan Frakes gave to Star Trek Explorer magazine, which came out a couple of weeks ago. And all the outlets, including Screen Rant, have been kind of pillaging this interview for quotes and interesting things to write about. But yeah, what's another interesting thing about this interview is that Frakes gave this interview long before he found out that Discovery Season 5 was the final season. So later on, when we talk about Discovery, it's relevant because he didn't know at that point that it was going to be the end, and he directed basically the first half of the season finale, or the series finale, as it were. But this article is him talking about Star Trek Legacy. He was asked about basically how Picard Season 3's finale teed up what Legacy could be with the Enterprise G, 7 of 9, and he was talking about an idea he floated in the past, where basically he wants to be Admiral Riker. He wants to be Charlie to the Charlie's Angels. He wants everybody to come to him maybe once an episode and receive their marching orders, which will allow him to be on the show, but also, more importantly, be backstage directing episodes for Legacy. So here, let me just go into the quote that he actually gave.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so his quote is, "I suspect if Star Trek Legacy does go forward, it would be Jerry Ryan, Michelle Hurd, and Ed Speleers, who's now in Starfleet, and Mika Burton and Ashley Sharp-Chestnut, who played Geordi's daughters. I would also imagine Lulu Wilson, who played the Riker's daughter in Season 1 and was so fabulous, could be a part of it. She could come back and maybe be in Starfleet." Then he adds, "It feels to me like there's a real opportunity."
What's the character's name again?
Kestra.
Kestra, thank you.
Yeah, Kestra. Kestra Roy Riker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and he says, "It feels to me like there's a real opportunity for 3 of the Legacy characters' children to carry on and sort of be the next Star Trek, the next generation. It just feels like it's laid out there. It's the blueprint for the next phase." And he's absolutely right.
Yes. Actually, it's 4 of the Legacy's children because it's Riker and Troy.
It's true.
Wow, that is... So let's see. Oh, and Crusher too is involved in this, one of those couplings. So that's 5. So who do we need a war? Okay, we need Alexander. And who's Data? Well, Lal, I guess. I mean, well, anybody.
No.
Soji Berry.
He had a living daughter walking around.
Soji Berry, yeah.
Everybody forgot about Soji.
She has
a whole planet of kids. He has the whole planet full of his kids running around.
My God, what a Kirk.
Yeah, so if they could involve Alexander and Soji, they would have everybody. They'd be done. They'd have everybody. Mm-hmm. And Sela. Sela could come back. She actually could. Denise Crosby could reprise
and
Sela.
Wesley.
No, let's stop it. No. Let's not get crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Molly.
Steve. Oh, right. She was born on Next Generation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Work delivered her.
That's right.
Wow, good knowledge. Are we forgetting anybody? Like, we've got everybody covered.
Jason Vigo, Picard's fake son.
Oh, no. I like that.
We could have Regina Barkley, you know.
Oh my God.
Regina Barkley, but she would be like the opposite of Reginald Barkley. Like, she'd be a go-getter, she'd be smarmy and aggressive and cocksure, you know what I mean? She'd be like walking around, putting her boots on the desk, you know.
Oh, what happened to Loxana?
Like Mariner.
Yeah. And Q Jr., Q's kid.
Exactly.
Q Jr.
I want him on Legacy so badly.
Wow, that is, yeah.
It's a deep cut.
Mm-hmm. And then if we just want to involve all the people are making suggestions of people outside of Next Generation, like obviously Jake Sisko of Deep Space Nine, is Faith Howell mentioning that. Aaron Walke's mentioning Naomi Wildman as well. So we could bring in people
assistant.
from Captain's assistant. Glenn Iverson says Soji got shortchanged. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, well, most definitely.
It feels like it was not always the plan for those characters to get phased out. It feels like Soji and Rios
and Elnor
and Girardi. It feels like when they created that crew in season 1, it felt like that was going to be the crew that was going to take us through 3 seasons. And then it feels like season 2, they decided to pivot and begin to phase them out a bit. Do you have any insight on that, John Orchiola? Because that's what it seems like from the outside.
I mean, I don't have any specific insight, but there is certainly evidence that there is that creative decision was made partially in response to season 1 and season 2. I mean, I believe when Terry was on The Seventh Rule, he talked a little bit about that, about how when he came on and wanted to be the show and was named showrunner of season 3, his desire was to reunite Next Gen, which he thought should have been what the show Picard should have been all along. And so when that happened, as much as we want everybody, as we just did with everyone's kids, as much as we want everybody in this show doing just hanging out and drinking synthahol,
playing poker,
get rid of
playing poker and synthahol, one giant gambling hall on the Enterprise. Financially, it's not feasible, so they had to cut some people.
So Bob D. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh no. So.
Bob D in the live chat says, and a salamander. Yes. That would be the pet. Every show has to have a pet. Their pet would be a salamander.
How dare you? Pet.
The salamander went to Oh yeah, that's right. Boy, this is getting confusing.
Well, and we can't forget Jake's sibling.
That's right.
Oh, yeah,
Jake's unnamed sibling.
Baby Sisko would be like in Picard. Well, in Picard, if Legacy picked up where Picard left off, then Baby Sisko would be like, I don't know, 16 to 20, right? Because I think Picard takes place 20 years after Nemesis, which is a few years into Deep Space Nine. So yeah, maybe like 17, 18, 19-ish, somewhere in that realm.
Oh, speaking of Deep Space Nine, what about Kirayoshi O'Brien?
I was going to say he could be best friends with.
Yeah.
He could be best friends with Kirayoshi.
Yeah.
I think they'd be right around the same age, and then they could bring back caveman Molly from that one episode.
Yes,
she's gone. She doesn't exist anymore because they rescued.
I think Lower Decks is going to bring back caveman Molly. So was there anything else with this article here? The summary says Star Trek icon Jonathan Frakes envisions a dream scenario for Star Trek Legacy, which would focus on the children of TNG characters on the USS Enterprise G. Frakes believes that Jerry Ryan, Michelle Hurd, and Ed Spaliers could be part of the cast, along with Mika Burton, Ashley Sharp-Chestnut. Frakes himself proposes that his character, Will Riker, could become an admiral overseeing the new voyages, allowing him to appear occasionally while directing episodes and contributing behind the scenes. That's really interesting. So you were saying, John, like Charlie of Charlie's Angels, where he's kind of the admiral that watches over them, or maybe he's a little bit more of a badmiral that kind of scolds people, like an Admiral Nechayev, or she was really the one that would always.
I think Thomas Riker would be the Badmiral Riker.
He's like Claw from Inspector Gadget.
Yes, that's a great reference. Yeah.
It's Thomas Riker.
So Frakes had an actual quote about about Charlie's Angels, which we might as well just read since it's also part of the article here. Is so he Frakes' quote is, Riker would have to be a captain and have a ship, or he would be promoted to admiral and be a liaison. I'm only half kidding when I say it would be great for me if the show carries on and I'm like Charlie from Charlie's Angels. They'd have to come to my office once a day or once a week for a meeting with Riker, and that would be perfect. Then I could direct a bunch of episodes and be around the show. So he's already figured it out.
It sounds like he wants to be a creative. It sounds like he wants to be, almost like a producing director at this point and see if he can kind of lean in a little bit, because that guy's got ideas, and he's like, I'll make pizza. I'll bribe.
Well, he just lost his job on Discovery. He needs another one.
I think as long as new Star Trek is continuing to happen, he will always have a job. I feel like he's definitely earned that at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think he is the most beloved director among all of the casts, and with good reason. He's also one of the best directors there ever has been for Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. As evidenced, in my opinion, by the best Star Trek movie ever, First Contact. I think it's the best. A lot of people say it's Star Trek 4. A lot of people say it's Star Trek 2. I don't think anybody says it's Star Trek Beyond, but maybe they're out there.
6 is my favorite.
What did you say, Emery?
6 is my favorite.
I love 6.
But yeah, everybody says that for TNG movies.